Jesse Burnett here with Quik-N-Ez Concrete Creations. Today's adventure is taking a truck snowplow and welding a plate onto it so it can attach to a skid steer. So basically taking a truck snowplow and turning it into a skid steer snowplow. Right now we have leveled up the A-frame with a level and then propped it up with blocks, and now we are measuring from the mold board and getting our cut line established with a permanent marker. We knew the angle we wanted by putting the quick attach skid steer plate on the Bobcat itself, putting it at the angle we wanted, and we also put the arms down into the saddles because we knew whenever we were going to push with the snowplow, we wanted it to push with the arms down in the saddle, and that we would just use the tilt mechanism, basically the bucket tilt, but just the tilt in order to get it to sit down onto the ground. And so therefore you would just tilt it a little bit farther as the cutting edge would wear down. This particular blade is an Arctic trip edge snowplow, and it's also got box ends. It's 7 foot 6 inches wide. So it's not only going to be a skid steer snowplow that will angle back and forth, but it will also be basically a pusher because it will have removable box ends that we will probably just keep on there permanently. Right now we're making the cuts with a Husqvarna cutoff saw. We call it a chop saw, cutoff saw, concrete saw, emergency saw. It's called a lot of different things. Very noisy. So right now we're making the cuts. This particular A-frame on this Arctic, it was modified. So I picked it up off of Facebook, and the back side of the A-frame was modified, as you can see there, because normally where we're cutting at would have been the ears that would have pinned it onto a lift frame on an Arctic snow as an Arctic snowplow. Somebody added, it was approximately about 8 inches of material, and then added those ears that you see there to the left of the chop saw are actual Meyer ears. So somebody had modified it to go onto a Meyer lift frame. This is actually somewhat of a common practice with used snow blades, is taking a different pump, a different setup, a lift frame, and then modifying the mold board and the A-frame in order to fit the lift frame and that pump. Because a lot of times it's hard to find on older trucks that particular mount. So you do with what you have, especially, you know, we average in our area in Central Illinois about 14 inches a year. So in order to make everything economical, instead of going out and spending $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 on a skid steer snow blade, I picked up this mold board right here for $500. And then I think I had another $170 in the actual quick attach plate that goes on the Bobcat. And then we had the hoses was about another $312. Then we had about, what was it? The quick couplers was another $100. So that'd be 412 plus 500, so 912. Then the 200, we're going to call it right around 200 for the quick attach plate. So about 1,100. So I'm going to guess about 13. We probably had about $1,300 in this after paint and all. And also you'll find out later in the video, those orange angle cylinders, we have a problem with them. So they don't end up staying on the plow themselves. Somebody ended up leaving no fluid in them and left the ports open, so they ended up getting disgusting. So what we're doing now is we're pulling the skid steer up to the A-frame, and then he's going to mark it on the plate. And that plate we got was, I went with a 3/8. Didn't go with half and didn't go chintzy with 5/16. Ended up going with 3/8 steel there because I wanted to actually use the plate as basically the cross member between the 2 points, so I didn't end up having to add one. But also, you'll see later in the video, we're going to have some gussets on there, and it ended up turning out real nice. So pull that away. Now we've got to get that quick attach plate in position. I thought I was going to use the cherry picker, but that didn't work out. So then we just manhandled it. And since we already had it marked out, we just used blocks till we got to the height. And then we had some concrete blocks to kind of pin it. Since it wasn't straight up and down, it's a little bit at an angle. So as you can see there. And then we went ahead and got to welding on it. Ended up tacking one side a little bit. Well, more than tacking, actually welding it. So we got that side taken care of. And then we went over to the other side. So very important whenever you're welding, I don't know, is do not look at it. Like when I filmed this, I was basically just sticking the camera over there and turning my head every time it started up. So kids at home that watch this video, just remember that you can watch this weld on this video, but you cannot watch this weld in real life. You will burn your retina. So we use a Lincoln stick welder, basically what they call a buzz box. Cheap. I mean, it's a cheap welder, but with the sticks, it works great. And, you know, it would be nice to have a wire fed welder, but my dad here, which is, he learned how to weld in actual shop class, which is something they don't even, they don't even teach in a lot of classes anymore. So they kind of like want you to go on to a specialty school to do that. But they actually learned how to weld in shop class, which is unbelievable. So he's taken this knowledge and he's going to end up passing it on to us because we never had any of this at our school. And so he's getting these first passes done. He's going across the top, down both sides. And then that sucker just wouldn't get going. There it goes. And the big thing with stick welding is that as you're trying to make your bead, your stick's getting smaller. So it's not like a constant flow of material. You actually have to take your hand, and as you're trying to do your beads, you're also bringing it in towards there, but you don't want to bring it in too fast or you end up getting it stuck there. So I don't know everything about welding. I'm just talking about all the finer points that I've been told by welding people that I've watched weld myself. So we've measured up for a brace here because we just got done doing the 2 boxes. So we weld across the top and down the 2 sides. And now we're cutting our brace, getting it ready. And now we're welding it in. So basically it's kind of like an upper kicker. So it'll keep that plate. So if he ends up hitting something really hard and jamming up that whole plow, it'll keep that plate, you know, if any of that weld was to come loose on the actual tube, the box tube itself, keep it from slamming into the plow, you know. It's reinforcing it there up high. And as you can see that there's already gussets coming off that A-frame, off the center pin, going down to an angle iron that we're basically propping up against ourselves and then going back up to the quick attach plate. So it's going to be pretty slick. I was real pleased with this setup, and also we were being very economical. We were using whatever, we have a bunch of leftover steel from other projects just sitting over there underneath one of our benches, and just was pulling out pieces and seeing what would fit, and then according to what would fit and what our need was, then that's what we ended up using. So it wasn't necessarily, we were going to use 3.5-inch channel today and we went out and bought it. We just had 3.5-inch channel there. That was 3.5 or 4-inch channel. And just, hey, it's long enough. We can cut it and fit it in there, and it's going to work out perfect and strong. So he welded across the top and down the two sides, and then did the same thing on both ends. So, yep, got those in there. And now we're going to have to start thinking about some gussets for on the top. So here's our gussets on the top. And yep, it's some smaller channel, not I think that might be 3-inch channel it was. And ended up welding those on to the tube, the box tube, and onto the plate, the quick attach plate. And that gives it a little bit of strength there. He's getting it fit in. He got it to where he liked it, and now he's going to weld her in, going down the sides, the ends, up and across. So basically making a really good connection there on top with that tube, because we've already welded around the 3 sides of that tube. Now, later on in the video, we'll end up flipping the plow over and doing the welds on the bottom side of all these. So we do all the top ones first, because it's impossible to really do an upside down weld with a stick, because the material, since it's getting fed with the stick and then shortening, you're losing your material because of gravity away from you. The flux is flowing away from you. So there's probably a trick to it that a welder would know, but it's just easier for us to flip it right upside down and then weld it on the opposite ends. So that way we got it totally welded all the way around. Looking good there. Getting real hot. When it gets hot like that, it's melted together pretty well. Now we flipped the plow over, and here we are. We're finishing our welds on the back side. So the box tube, he finished all the way around it. So basically he welded all the way around 4 sides of the box tube. And then I ended up found some an actual old plow mount. It was my actual second plow that I ever owned, was a Snow Bear. My first plow was a Snow Bear too. So my first 2 plows to get into snow removal back in '99 were Snow Bears. And I still had the mounts for those Snow Bears, and I took them and I cut them, and there they are. I fit them right in for gussets. It worked out perfect. I just cut down one line, and then they were angled just perfect to go right up on there. I mean, it just worked out perfect. But that's old Snow Bear mounts for a 88 to 98 Chevrolet. So it's kind of funny how far we've come. Used to use a manual angle plow, and now, totally fully hydraulic. There it is, all welded up. We ended up putting a cross piece connecting those 2 pieces of channel gussets that were on top of the box. So we put a piece of angle iron across there. Those are our box ends to make it a total pusher, and we put some new antennas on it. Antennas that were on there were shot, or curb feelers, or what I call them, antennas. I like them. antennas. So there it is, hooked up to the skid steer. Then we've also mounted up our relief valve. And what that is a crossover relief valve. That's set. You can set it up to 3,000 psi. It's factory set at 2,000 psi. And what it will do, there's a close look at that cross member angle and everything. It turned out great for the scrap metal we had and what we came up with. I think this thing come out terrific. I was very pleased with it. But what that is it's a crossover relief valve that if you have a angle cylinder fully, not fully, but if it's got fluid in it, if it's extended, there we go. There's the word, extended. If it's extended at any bit and you get an impact over 2,000 psi on that side of that extended cylinder, then it will allow fluid to flow back in to its source and not hurt the cylinder itself. I've seen my cousin hit something one time, but the cylinder was not extended. It was already retracted totally, and he totally shattered the whole housing that the actual cylinder slid in and out of. I mean, just like it looked like a grenade went off. I've never seen anything like it. It was unbelievable. So you want to, it's not only to protect the cylinders on the plow, which, I mean, we're using a way heavier hydraulic system with this skid steer than what these cylinders were used to with a truck plow with an electric over hydraulic unit. So we ended up using a 3/4 inch lines because it wasn't 3/4. We used 1/2 inch. We used 1/2 inch lines because the relief valve was plumbed as a 1/2 inch. And plus, then you ended up getting bigger lines, which were beefier, which I liked, and more solid elbows that I'm working on right now up on the quick couplers. Well, actually, my brother was working on this video's. And so we went with that, and then we had 1/4 inch hoses going out the other side. We had a bushing to go from 1/2 to 1/4, and then had 1/4 inch hoses going into the angle cylinders. So we've got everything plumbed up, remounting that. Just got to add on the next 2 hoses. But right now what we're trying is we're going to make sure that the main supply hoses are not that they've got plenty of play and that they won't get snagged on anything or rub anywhere. So that they'll go through the D-ring and not snag anywhere if you end up dumping the whole pusher, picking it up and dumping it. Try to get snow off there. Here we are snugging up the 1/4 inch lines onto the orange angle cylinders, which will be a problem. So as you can see now that we've got the whole system working, now we have gone to getting it ready to paint. So now he is dousing the whole thing with mineral spirits and cleaning off any grease or anything else. We also switched out the cylinders. As you can see, those are black cylinders. They haven't been painted yet. We're priming up everything. We use a Rust-Oleum rusty metal primer. I know there's probably better stuff out there, but this is farm country, and it's stuff that we've already used before. And this brown rusty metal primer is some pretty good stuff. We've put it on some of our dump beds, and we've also put it on a trailer, and that stuff, if the paint goes, that stuff stays a really long time. My brother prepped also with using a wire wheel before he did the mineral spirits. I just don't have any video of that. Now he's putting on the actual black paint. This is the next day after the primer had dried. And here is the plow. We have not actually had any real snow. So this was like a sleet, snow, freezing rain kind of mix. And so we went ahead and took it out and tested it out. And it ended up, my brother's running the skid steer and he loved it. And as you can see, it's running great. Running right down the pavement. It's going to be. Thanks for coming along on this adventure with us. We sure appreciate all the support from all our fans. Please hit the subscribe button, comment, and hit the thumbs up on this video. We do appreciate everything that our community has done for us, and we look forward to bringing you more videos and more information in the future. Thanks again for watching, and have a great night. And remember, go write your story today.